My name is Wendy Atkins. It's WendyAtkins. I'm a civilian investigator with Special Victims Unit, specifically with the Office of Sexual and Physical Investigations. We are here today to talk about a 1986 cold case. 86 was 39 years ago, and as a matter of fact, it was 39 years ago today, June the 13th. It was also a Friday. To take you guys back to 1986, you might remember U of L Cardinals' second national championship under Denny Crum. Kenny Payne was on that team, so you might remember that. We also had the Challenger explosion that year. Challenger exploded in June, and not too long after that, our victim had a really rough day. She was out with some friends having some drinks, and when they were done, she decided to drive to a Sav-A-Step in Jeffersonville, Indiana. She said her husband loved Diet Coke, so she was going to get him a Diet Coke for in the morning when he woke up to go to work. She pulled up to the Sav-A-Step and it was closed. So she had her windows down, enjoying the summer air, and when she got to the exit of the parking lot, she felt a gun barrel on the left side of her head. Two black males approached her vehicle, hit her in the side of the face, and told her to get into the passenger seat. After that, our victim was transported over to Louisville in her own vehicle. She was raped multiple times in multiple locations in her vehicle on the side of the road here in Louisville. This victim had the wherewithal during her attack to think about, if I survive this, they're going to need to know things. So she remembers very specific aspects of the people and what was happening at the time. These two men discussed the area of Southwick. Many people in Louisville know Southwick Cotter Homes was a housing project back in the 80s. She remembers that. She had never heard of it before, but she put that in her memory bank as something that she may need. She also remembers that one of the suspects called the other by the name of Kelly. She doesn't know if that's a nickname. She doesn't know if that's his real name, but she remembered that name. She remembers things about the houses that she was looking at as she was being sexually assaulted. So if you can put yourself in that mind frame of being attacked, violently assaulted, and thinking to yourself, let me look through this window and let me remember these things that are happening around me so that if I survive this assault, I can help catch these people. These two men drove her around the city of Louisville, talking about killing her, dumping her body, selling her, trying to figure out what they were going to do with her. Eventually, they ended up getting out of the vehicle, grabbed her ID, told her they know where she lives, not to report it to police. They told her to count to 100 and not to look at them, and then she could drive off. She did exactly as she was told. She drove until she found the Sherman-Minton Bridge, crossed it, and stopped at a gas station where the station attendant came out, saw the shape she was in, and called the local law enforcement. From that point, Jeffersonville PD and Louisville PD were working this case in conjunction. Louisville PD ended up taking over this case, and this woman has sought justice since June 13th, 1986. The time is up, and it's time to get her some justice. She has suffered since that day, but she is now a survivor. She has lived a good life, all while waiting on this to be solved. So we need your help. We want people to read our Facebook post. It's got very specific details about things that we know. If you remember June 13th of 1986, and you remember any details that are in our post, please go to LMPD's website or even on that post and click on the tip page Fill it out. Let us know what you know. We have so many unsolved crimes, and this one can be solved. This survivor has become a friend to me. We talk regularly. I have an obligation to do my best to help her get some justice here. So we are asking the community's help.
We'll open up for questions.
So since from 1989, a lot of things have changed. It's been almost 40 years. You put out these sketches. Is there any way to do an age progression of the sketches of what these men may look like now?
We could do that, and we thought about that. The concern with age progression of a composite. Composites aren't perfect, right? So if you age progress a composite, they may be a little bit off. You could throw it way out. So I wouldn't want to take what she saw in 1986 and make that into something that is not what those people would look like today. So I would rather people think back to what these people would look like 39 years ago today. And if they match those composites and fit that description, give us a call.
Why today? Why tell her story today and not last year or the year before last?
So a year and a half ago, our survivor contacted LMPD, specifically the Office of Sexual and Physical Investigations, and said, I've seen all of this coming up about new technology and testing. Can you all look at my case? And we did, and we saw that there's some possibility of solving it. I'm not going to be able to go into detail about specific evidence that we have now. I will say that what evidence was collected in 1986 wasn't able to be pursued at the time. There were limitations in technology. Many of those limitations are gone now. So we do have some evidence, and again, I'm not going to go into specifics, but those perpetrators who committed this crime, I want them to know that we do have evidence. We do also need the community's help. We need to tie the pieces together.
Was a rape kit test done the day of the incident?
There is a rape kit on file, and it was done in 1986. It was done over in Clark County. That's all I'm really going to say on that. I think that, again, the technology back then is not what the technology is today.
We know that there's been historically backlogs of these kids
Yes.
sitting in evidence rooms.
Yep.
Is it being actively investigated?
This case is being actively investigated, yes.
The rape kit in specific.
This case is being actively investigated. So I'll say that.
And are all the other ones?
All the other what? Cases?
Yeah.
So we have 3,000 cold case sexual assaults currently in our inventory. 2,600 of those cold case sexual assaults that we have are what's considered the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative program. Those were adopted into a program from 2016 where we got funds from the federal government to test the kits. So all 3,000 of those have the ability to be worked, or at least looked at, I should say. So we've got 3,000 cold case sexual assaults. That is 3,000 files of victims that are waiting on justice. So I would like to say, we all know, I hope we all know, that sexual assault goes grossly unreported and always has. So the 3,000 cold case sexual assaults are only the ones that have been reported. There are many more out there that have not been reported. With that said, if you are a victim of a cold case sexual assault or a current sexual assault, report that to us. Let us get you justice. That's what we're here for, and that's what we work for, is to keep people from victimizing other people.
Over the last year and a half, have you, in your investigation, come across people of interest or suspects?
We have come across some people of interest. I wouldn't necessarily claim them as suspects yet, but again, that's where we're waiting on community assistance. You know, tie all the pieces together, and hopefully, if the people that we have looked into come up as a tip, that would be great. If not, and it leads us into another direction, that would also be great.
And you said at the time Louisville took over the case. Is that still the case? Does Indiana have any involvement?
Indiana has no involvement in this case, no.
It is our understanding that KSP is also collaborating in this. Would you be able to talk about the role that they're
Sure.
having in this?
Yeah, so I mentioned the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative. That's the SACI grant. With that grant, we have 2 Kentucky State Police detectives that are also employed on that grant that can help us with the sworn duties. So I'm a civilian investigator. I'm not sworn law enforcement. I am underneath that grant as well, but I work directly for LMPD. We have detectives and sergeants in our unit that can help us. If it's a SACI case that's been adopted by SACI, our 2 KSP detectives would help us with those.
So when people typically think of cold cases, they think of unsolved murders 2 years and after. Talk about the difference between that and cold cases when it comes to sexual assaults.
So cold cases, no matter what they are terrible. You've got victims and survivors that are out without justice. Nobody wants to go through something and not get justice for it. Cold case murders, unfortunately, your victim is no longer living. Your survivors are family members and friends, so that's tough. Cold case sexual assaults, these victims are alive and going through their day-to-day knowing that whoever assaulted them is still walking the streets. The victim in this case still is living her life not knowing who these people are that violently assaulted her. She has explained to me on multiple occasions of instances where someone walks up behind her and says even the slightest thing and she screams. We're talking 39 years after an attack that someone walking up behind her is jarring her to that point. So there's a difference. Everyone deserves justice, right? But there is a difference when you've got a living victim who is struggling every single day to get through the day-to-day because they know that person is out there.
Do you have reason to believe it was a targeted attack?
From any investigation, we have not identified any targeted attack. I do believe it was a crime of opportunity.
I know in the incident report, the perpetrators mentioned someone named Big Daddy. Has there been any quotes of that in any other sexual assault cases?
We have not identified any other quotes of Big Daddy in any other sexual assaults. That's not to say there isn't. They just haven't been identified right now. And as far as the Big Daddy thing, the Louisville Police Department detectives that worked this case in 1986 were incredible. And they did a very thorough investigation. The file is very large because they worked very hard. And they did look up Big Daddy. They looked up every possible scenario where a Big Daddy would have been involved, and it just didn't lead to anything.
Does she have a message that she wants to share with the public, with the media?
So I talk to our survivor on a regular basis. And that's kind of one of the common themes of what we talk about. What do you want? She just wants justice. And yes, that sounds cliche, but she's been living 39 years knowing that the people who took away somewhat of her innocence are still out there. She has worked her whole life. She has a family. From the outside looking in, she's got it all. On the inside, she struggles daily. So 39 years is longer than some of us have been alive in this room. So every day of her life since she was 22, 23 has been a struggle to get through it. She wants them caught. She wants them to answer for what they did to her. She wants to look them in their face and show them that she has survived this and they did not win.
Can you say your name and title one more time?
Sure. My name is Wendy Atkins, and I'm a civilian investigator with the Special Victims Unit, specifically Office of Sexual and Physical Investigations.
So how many people are working on this case?
So I'm working on this case in conjunction with KSP Detective Ben Walcott. He again is funded by the SACI, the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative. Ben Walcott, that's BenWolcott. He is a retired KSP trooper who has come back specifically to work on cold case sexual assaults.
When do you want to talk about the no statute on this?
Okay.
Violent crimes, violent crime.
So in Kentucky, we have the benefit of having no statute of limitations on this crime. Violent crimes can be prosecuted no matter how long it's been. So whoever did this crime, when we find those who did this crime, they can be prosecuted.
How long will they be in jail for?
That's going to be up to the prosecutor and the judge and the jury. We're going to hope a very long time. At this point, they'd be in their 60s. So I would hope that once we locate them and get them up in front of a prosecutor and a judge, that they spend the rest of their lives behind bars.
What would it mean to you to get a break in this case? To be able to tell?
You know, I've thought about that a lot because I have become friends with this survivor just by talking regularly, and even me calling to tell her that we were going to do this, put a social media post out, and then when I found out that there was going to be a media interview, to call and tell her we're going to hopefully get something off of this was emotional for me. I've explained to you guys how this has affected her. When you meet someone in person and hear their story, it becomes part of you. So I take this as a personal mission to get her some answers. So there's no way for me to calculate what it would mean to me. I just hope I get to be the one to make that phone call to her to tell her that we have caught them.